Did you know that most entrepreneurs fail in the first 3 years? It's crazy, right? In this video, we're going to talk about the main reasons why most entrepreneurs fail and how you can avoid it. Tap in. So one of the main reasons why most people fail in business is because they lack a clear vision. So if you ever created a business plan, what is your mission and vision statement? The reason why it's so important to have a mission and vision statement is because if you don't know your mission, how could you know when it's complete? How could you know where you are? And without a vision, you don't know where you're going. You have no sight. You can't really see past today and learn how to build through adversity, challenges, and also how to measure your successes. Without having a clear vision, you don't really know when you should stick to your guns or when you should actually kind of abandon a certain position. What kind of goals do you have, right? So when you think about goals, these are things that help you along the way. It's almost like anchor points or like guidelines that show you like where you are within the vision or the journey. And ultimately, without goals, you'll end up underperforming and underachieving because there's nothing to really measure yourself up against. One of the main things you want to be careful about is comparing yourself to others, right? So even though you have to be competitive in the marketplace and you will compare yourself to the market, you want to be careful not to compare yourself to other businesses because at that point, you're just a follower and you no longer have innovation, right? So you want to be innovative. And the only way to really do that is to establish a vision in the beginning. Say, hey, you know what? I see what's going on, but I want to do things this way. I want to really make that work, right? So when you create a business plan, normally you have like a 3 to 5 year projection. Just to make it easier for you, just start with a year and work your way backwards. So you have 12 months in a year, which ends up being 4 quarters, right? So you have every 3 months, there's a new quarter. So January, February, March, that's quarter one, so forth and so on, till you get to the fourth quarter, right? Which is going to lead you up into what they call the Christmas rush or, the holiday seasons towards the end of the year, going back into January. Well, think about where you want to be at the top of the year. Think about where you are right now. And so what you do is you create a plan that you say, at this point next year or next January, I want to have this accomplishment with my business. And this is based on this particular vision. Even if the vision is a plan that goes for 50 years, how do we know we're on the journey this year? So at least come up with some goals that can carry you from quarter one to quarter four and have some milestones that you can achieve along the way, some check boxes, if you will. And this creates what's called a clear vision, right? I like to call that the law of specificity. You need to be very specific about what you're trying to accomplish. One of the main challenges when you're creating your vision is poor time management, right? You hear the saying, you only have 24 hours in a day, but some people accomplish this much and some people accomplish this much. So the distance between here to there is major. The successful person and the failure has the same amount of time. So obviously it's not the time allotment or how much you've been given, but it's more so how do you utilize it, right? Being more disciplined with your schedule, being more disciplined with, how you approach certain priority tasks, and really ultimately do things like make a list, right? If you have this yearly plan, this is a great time to start looking at what are all the different, steps or milestones that we need to accomplish, and what are we going to have to do in order to accomplish those things? Take a certain spreadsheet and say, okay, these things must get done, and then you can put things in order of priority. So if you know something is really important, then you kind of spend time figuring out how to make sure you utilize your time wisely enough to make sure you get to accomplish those particular things. This gives you the ability to measure out after a day or a week or whatever. You can kind of look back and say, you know what? I thought these things were really important here, but these things are actually taking really valuable time away from me accomplishing the bigger goal. If these things absolutely must get done anyway, so they are priority, but they're lower priority, who can I outsource that to, or who on the team can take that off of me while I can focus on achieving a high goal if I'm the only one who can do it or if I'm the best person to do it? So, you kind of have the ability to structure your time in a way that not only makes you perform better, but also helps your team perform better by being able to delegate things that maybe you shouldn't be doing, but you find yourself trying to squeeze everything in because you got these lofty goals, right? Set golden hours. So when I say golden hours, I mean times of the day that you know for a fact you're going to do certain things. So whether that's working or whether that is taking a break, whatever it is, make it more systematic. So this way, every single day, you know you have to get done things in a certain amount of time. The more critical you are over your time and how you use it, the more successful you're going to be, because you're going to start identifying what are the weak points in how I structure my day and what are the strong points. When do I get more work done and when do I get distracted? You know, like what are the things that's enabling me to be successful and what are the things that could potentially cause me to fail? So that leads me to the next reason that most businesses fail, and that's like inadequate marketing, right? So how do you get there? How do you inadequately market your business? Well, most people, number one, they don't start off with marketing in mind. They don't really think about the size of a market, right? So it doesn't matter how well you can make designs and videos and content and stuff like that. If you're selling a product or a service that just doesn't have a lucrative market to begin with, then you're going to fail at marketing. It doesn't matter whether or not you can reach people if the market is small. How much revenue do you need to make every week, every month, every year, so forth and so on, in order for you to continue growing? So if you find that, you know what, he's right, I didn't think about that, but now that I really analyze it, the market I'm going after is inadequate in itself, then all of my marketing efforts will essentially become inadequate. Who is your, target audience or customer avatar? Like, what does this person look like? What do they do? Where are they? What do they consume? What is it that makes them like this product or service over this product or service? How do you speak the message to reach those people? Become more marketing centric in the beginning. And by doing that, you'll be able to establish a much greater marketing strategy in order to reach those people. The funny thing about this is, you hear about marketing in different ways. So I'm going to use this time to point out something that's very important. So there's the thing that's called strategy, and there's something that's called tactic. So a lot of times when people start a new business, they just think about tactical executions. In their mind, they believe they're thinking about strategy, about like, how do I reach this person? And they think they're being strategic, but in reality, they start following the market and they look at it and they say, well, everyone who wants to get to this type of customer does this. And it may be something like create a YouTube channel or create a video or make a flyer or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, those things just become tactical. When you become more strategic, you start thinking about chess, not checkers. What type of movements, how many marketing tactics must I perform in order to execute a strategy? This is a totally different mindset. So when you start thinking about strategy, you start realizing all tactics must enable and execute the strategy, the overall bigger picture of how you're trying to get your message across and who you're trying to reach and at what frequency. And what would you expect if you convert that to a sale? How much is that worth to you? Because then you think about everything that goes into it, from budget, time, team, all these different things. You think about, am I running at a loss or am I running at a high profit margin? And this is one of the reasons why most businesses fail. They never consider how can they streamline their strategies, whether it be, designing, spending money on ad share, different things like that. How can they streamline all this strategically and use all these different tactics to keep the cost down, keep the conversion high, and ultimately increase the profits? And one thing we know for sure is profits are what keep businesses alive, right? Without profits, the business will fail. So how do you avoid that? By doing the things we just said. Be very, very strategic about your marketing and your marketing strategy. And most importantly, be very educated. Take the time and figure out what market you're going after so you can target a market that's growing and that's lucrative. You don't want to try to do something in a space that's dying or that just doesn't have a big upside to it. It may be fun, but it won't be profitable. The next reason why most businesses fail, and that is poor financial management. Things such as overspending, not tracking your expenses, not tracking your revenue at all. Also, a lot of times people, they don't reinvest into the business. They just take the money and they keep spending. Well, if you're going to reinvest, marketing is a great place, right? Because you need to take what works and take the revenue generated from it and funnel it back into the business to keep researching while converting and figuring out what works even better. And as you get that down, once you can figure out how much money does it cost to obtain a client, then you can start figuring out how to really manipulate those profit margins and expand it even more. How do you get that same conversion done at a scale that's much higher than what you've been doing? But all of this takes great financial management because you need to learn to reinvest into the business, right? As opposed to just taking it, not paying attention, spending money here and there, just not paying attention at all. So one of the things I would say when it comes to good financial management would be keeping great records. So what are some of the ways you go about doing that? For every invoice, every expense, everything that you do, you have the record of those expenses, the record of those transactions. You have a bank account for the business, right? Don't just run the business out of Cash App and it doesn't really go anywhere. Have a business bank account that you use, that you keep all the records of everything you're doing financially in one place, right? It'll make it a lot easier when it comes to accounting, when it comes to taxes, all those different things. But most importantly, if you get with a financial analyst or an accountant of some sort, and you say, let's take a look into let's audit our books and let's take a look and see what have we been doing good financially and what could we improve on? By having good records and having things set aside that are isolated to just the business's financial flow, it'll help you really get the most out of that insight so that by looking, you can say, oh, we're spending too much on this, or we're overspending on things that we don't even need at all. We could get more profit if we looked at this one item instead of purchasing it from this vendor, we purchase it from this other vendor. Just that small percentage here would lower the expenses by this much and increase the profits by this much. These get really detailed. So if you guys need help with these thoughts and strategies, reach out. But ultimately, I will recommend QuickBooks, which a lot of people know about or may have heard, but it's something that a lot of businesses use to do exactly what I'm saying right now. One thing I've learned is that energy goes where attention flows. So the more you pay attention to something like your finances, the more finances you'll have to pay attention to. So the number one thing is be a good steward and start to really think about how can you manage your finances better. For some of you, it's going to be as simple as just creating a bank account for your business, right? I mean, some people don't even do that. They start off as freelancers, creative professionals, and they're just kind of winging it, using whatever tool like PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, whatever, just to get transactions going. They never think about how could I maximize myself when it comes to organizing my finances and being able to get the most out of it. How can I manage it better? Number one thing I would recommend, get you a bank account and then get you an app like QuickBooks so you can really see everything in one place and have it also compatible with accounting and taxation and stuff like that. So it's an easy transition to go from the bank account to filing and things like that. So just to recap, most businesses fail because they have no vision. They don't manage their time wisely. They don't manage their finances wisely. They don't understand the market that they're in. No analysis properly to realize how to maximize and scale. If you just take a little time and start focusing on these key points, you're going to start finding so much opportunity to make a quick improvement. So I said make a 1-year plan. You'll see very quickly how, that you'll become more enthusiastic because over that course of the year, just by paying attention to these key points, you'll feel like you're on the road to success. And it really puts a lot of enthusiasm and motivation and inspiration into an owner and everybody that they work with when they start feeling like, wow, this is really a well-oiled machine. This is running properly. So we always hear those terms, most businesses fail in the first 3 to 5 years, but these are the reasons why. Once you hear it all in one place, you say, wow, I get it. That makes perfect sense. And that makes it a lot easier not to fail because now I know if I focus on these key points, then I'm preventing myself from the typical reasons why most entrepreneurs fail. All right, guys, I hope that this has been a blessing to you all. It's a pleasure to me as always. It's the man, Chaka Harley. I'm getting ready to sign out. Before I do, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has visited scribbleaffirmations.com and also anyone who emails me to work out for coaching sessions, one-on-ones, etc. And also I want to encourage everybody to like, comment, subscribe, share, and just, Continue to share this information with people that you care about and those that you know will be interested in leveling up as lifestyle entrepreneurs. All right? It's always a pleasure. Peace out, everybody. See you next time.